Hello, soft traveller, and thank you for finding your way to the Sleepy Dreamer. Tonight you do not need to do anything well. You do not need to hold the day in place. Let it loosen. Let it slide, the way a coat slips from the shoulders when the room is warm enough. Take one slow breath, and notice how the air arrives without being asked. It comes in. It leaves. It has been doing this for you, all along. And if your thoughts are still moving, that is all right. Let them move like distant clouds. You do not have to chase them. You do not have to solve them. Just let your attention rest nearby, like a candle set safely on a table. A small, steady glow. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to soften the edges of the night. Feel the weight of your body wherever it is settled. The mattress beneath you, the fabric against your skin. The gentle pressure at your shoulder, your hip, the back of your head. Gravity is already here, holding you with patient hands. It does not ask questions, it does not hurry, it simply keeps you close to the earth. If you can, let your jaw unclench, let your tongue rest, let the muscles around your eyes smooth out, as if your face is remembering a quiet, familiar place. There is a particular kind of silence at night, not a perfect silence, not an empty one, a living quiet, the kind that holds small sounds without making them sharp, a faraway hum, a soft creak in the building, the almost sound of air moving through a room. Even your own breath has a tone, a hush, a texture. Listen for it. And as you listen, you may begin to notice something gentle, something you have always known, but rarely needed to think about. That you are never truly without sensation. Even now, as the lights are low, as the world has dimmed, your body is still receiving, still measuring, still adjusting. Not loudly, not urgently, quietly. You can think of it as a kind of background awareness. Like the deep water under the surface of a lake. The lake looks still. The lake is still. And yet beneath the calm there is motion that never stops. Slow currents, subtle shifts. The water remembering where it belongs. Your nervous system is like that. A vast attentive network woven through you. It listens with nerves, the way a forest listens with branches. It gathers information the way the ocean gathers moonlight. Not to worry you, not to demand action, simply to keep you in balance and in life. And tonight, we're going to drift with that idea, the hidden human senses. The quiet senses that do not announce themselves in bright colours, or loud sounds, or sharp tastes. The senses that work behind the scenes, like the steady hands of a stage crew, changing the world with soft movements in the dark. You do not have to memorize anything. You do not have to track definitions. Let it be more like a walk, a slow walk, under a sky where the stars are faint and kind. We will take what we need and leave the rest to the night. Notice how you know you are here, not because you can see the room. Maybe your eyes are closed. Maybe they are heavy, not because you're touching anything with your hands. And yet you still know. You know where your body is. You know, in a general way, how you are positioned. You can sense the shape you make against the bed. You can sense, even without moving, that your knees are bent or straight, that your arms are close or open, that your head is turned slightly to one side. This is a kind of knowing that does not require sight. It is not magic. It is biology, quietly doing what it was built to do. Inside you, nerves carry messages. They are like small rivers of information flowing toward the brain and back outward again. Some messages are bright enough to become conscious. Pain, for example. Pleasure. A sudden loud sound, a sharp cold. Those are the obvious ones. the ones that rise like a bird from the grass. But many messages remain low and soft like the grass itself, moving in a wind you do not see. These hidden senses are not separate from you. They are you. They are your body keeping a quiet conversation with itself every moment of your life. And maybe, as you rest, you can feel the comfort in that you do not have to manage everything, that there are systems within you that keep going even when your thoughts wander off, that you can loosen your grip and still be held. Take another breath, slow, unforced. Let the inhale be a gentle gathering. Let the exhale be a soft release. You might notice the temperature around you, the difference between the air on your face and the warmth under a blanket, the way your hands are cooler than your chest perhaps, or the way your feet hold a little pocket of warmth. Temperature is a language the body speaks fluently. It does not shout it. It does not need to. It adjusts constantly in small ways. The skin itself is a wide and sensitive field. It contains receptors that respond to pressure, to stretch, to warmth, to coolness. Some of them are tuned for the fast signals, some are tuned for the slow ones. They create a map of contact between you and the world, a map drawn in sensation. And behind that map, deeper inside, there are other maps, quieter ones, maps of balance, maps of internal chemistry, maps of rhythm. It is easy in daytime to live mostly in the front of the mind, in the part of you that plans and speaks and decides. But the body is older than language. The body has its own intelligence shaped by millions of nights and mornings. And now, as the night holds you, you can let yourself drift closer to that older intelligence, the one that doesn't argue, the one that doesn't rush, the one that knows how to keep a heartbeat steady while the mind is elsewhere. There is a gentle fact that can soothe you if you let it. Your brain is always receiving sensory information, even when you're not paying attention to it. Much of it never reaches conscious awareness, not because it is unimportant, but because it is constant. Your brain filters, the way the night filters light. It keeps what is necessary. It softens what is too much. This filtering is not a mistake. It is a kindness. If you were aware of every pressure, every tiny shift, every chemical fluctuation, you would never rest. So the brain chooses. It holds most of it in the background, like a quiet orchestra playing beneath a whisper. And tonight, we will listen to that orchestra in the simplest way, not by straining, not by forcing, just by noticing the way calm feels, the way stillness has texture. Imagine a wide landscape at midnight, a coastline perhaps, where the sea is almost black. The sky above is deep, navy blue. The moon is hidden behind thin cloud, and the light that reaches the water is faint. Not a spotlight, just a soft reflection, a suggestion. In the lower half of the world, there are shapes you can barely see. Rocks, sand, maybe the silhouette of distant trees. Everything is softened. Edges blur into one another. The world is calm because it does not demand detail, and in that calm you can begin to sense patterns, the slow breathing of waves, the gentle pull of the tide, the way the air feels slightly cooler near the water, the way sound travels differently at night, muffled and wide. Now bring that feeling back to your body. Your body is a coastline too, a boundary between inner oceans and outer air. And along that boundary, messages arrive and leave. Warmth, pressure, breath, rhythm. You do not need to label them, just feel that they are there. If your mind tries to make a list, let it. Then let the list dissolve. This is not a test. This is a slow drift. You might notice the space behind your eyes, the quiet inside your skull, the faint sense of heaviness or lightness or something in between. You might notice that your breath has its own personality tonight. Perhaps it is shallow, perhaps it is deep, perhaps it changes as you listen. Breath is a bridge. It is partly automatic and partly something you can touch with attention. That makes it a perfect place to rest the mind. Inhale and feel the chest rise a little. Exhale and feel it fall a little. And somewhere beneath that movement, a deeper sensing continues. Your body monitors the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood, the pH balance, the oxygen levels. It makes tiny adjustments, like a sailor trimming a sail in a gentle wind. Most of this happens without your awareness, and it is happening now. It is happening for you. There is a softness in that truth, if you let it land, that while you rest, a quiet intelligence stays awake, not in a worried way, in a devoted way, like a lighthouse that simply keeps shining, like a tide that keeps returning. You can let your thoughts slow down around this idea. You can let the mind become less sharp, more spacious, less like a bright room, more like a dim hallway where footsteps are gentle. In the day, sensation can feel like noise, but at night, sensation becomes something else, a lullaby, a gentle signal that you are alive and safe enough to notice it. If there is any discomfort in the body, you do not have to fight it. You can acknowledge it softly. Let it be one sensation among many. If the mind tries to zoom in on it, widen the frame. Notice the whole body, the whole room, the whole night. The body contains many channels of information. Some are loud, many are quiet. Hidden senses are not hidden because they are secret. They are hidden because they are steady. They are like the slow turning of the planet beneath you. You do not feel the rotation, but it is always there, a silent motion that holds the sky in place, and you, lying here, are part of that turning. Feel the bed holding you. Feel the air around you. Feel the calm that can exist even when thoughts still flicker. Now, imagine the nervous system as a vast constellation, not bright, not sparkling, just faint points connected by invisible lines. The brain and spinal cord as the central glow, and branching nerves reaching out like delicate pathways into skin, muscle, and organ. Messages travel along these pathways as those electrical impulses, tiny changes in voltage across membranes, real physical events, like the subtle shifting of charges in a storm far away. In a nerve cell, an impulse travels by the movement of ions, sodium and potassium exchanging places across the cell membrane. It is a simple truth of nature, repeated endlessly, like waves repeating on a shore, and those impulses tell the brain what is happening. Pressure, stretch, temperature, position, internal state. You're not separate from these messages. You're the listening they create. And now, in this quiet, you can sense the listening itself. There is a gentle way to explore this without effort. Bring your attention to your hands, not by moving them, just by noticing them. Feel their shape, their weight, their contact with the blanket or with air. Notice any warmth, any coolness. Notice any faint tingling. Perhaps nothing stands out. That is fine. Even nothing has texture when you listen gently. Now let your attention drift to your feet. Again, without moving, just noticing. The pressure at the heels, the way the toes rest, the faint sense of distance between the feet and the head, like a long, quiet hallway inside you. That sense of distance is a kind of inner perception. It is the body's map of itself. The map is always there. You are just visiting it. And while you visit, the world outside remains calm. Night remains night. The room remains quiet. Your breath keeps moving like a small animal sleeping peacefully. Sometimes the mind worries because it believes it must be in control. It believes it must monitor everything. But your body is already monitoring. It already knows. It already adjusts. It already keeps the internal world within safe ranges. You can let that knowledge soften you. There is a term scientists use sometimes for the body's tendency to maintain stability. Homeostasis, a steady state. The body keeping temperature, chemistry, hydration, and energy in balance. You do not have to remember the word, just feel what it points to. A quiet balance that happens even while you rest. Think of a candle flame in a still room. It trembles slightly, responding to the tiniest currents of air, yet it stays lit. It does not need to be rigid to endure. It persists through gentle adjustment. Your body is like that, always adjusting. Always staying, and perhaps you can let that be comforting, that you're not a machine that must be operated perfectly. You're a living system that knows how to find its way back to balance, again and again. Outside, in our imagined landscape, the tide keeps moving. Not fast, not loud. It slides in, it slides out. It responds to the moon's pull, a force that reaches across space without touching. Gravity again, doing its quiet work. The same gravity that holds you to the bed is also holding the ocean to the earth. You're in the same field, the same invisible embrace. That is a true thing, a scientific thing, and yet it can feel like poetry when you let it. Your body is here. The earth is here. The night is here. All held by the same gentle rule of nature, repeating calmly across worlds. Let your breathing slow. Just a little more. Not forced, just invited. Inhale, exhale. And if your mind wanders, let it wander. We will meet it again, gently, like meeting a friend on a dark path. No judgment, just presence. There is a particular feeling that can arise when you begin to trust the hidden senses, a feeling of being accompanied, not by someone else necessarily, but by your own body, by the quiet intelligence inside it, by the steady awareness that keeps you balanced, warm, and alive. This companionship is subtle. It does not announce itself. It is more like the sound of rain heard from inside a safe room. You're not in the rain. You're listening to it. You are held. You can bring attention now to your heartbeat if you like. Do not search for it aggressively. Just listen inward, as if listening for a distant drum. Sometimes you can feel it in the chest, sometimes in the throat, sometimes in the hands, sometimes not at all. Wherever it is there. The heart beats because electrical signals travel through heart muscle, causing it to contract. Those signals originate in a small cluster of cells called the sinoatrial node, which acts like a natural pacemaker. It fires rhythmically, and the heart responds. This happens without you choosing it. It is a built-in rhythm, an ancient one, and it is happening now. The heart is a quiet metronome in the dark. It does not hurry. It does not fear the night. It simply keeps time, one beat, then another, then another. Listen for a moment to how steady that is, and notice how the body feels around it. The rib cage holding the heart, the lungs moving beside it, the blood carrying oxygen to every corner of you, a whole internal world working softly. You're not required to manage this world. You're allowed to rest inside it. In the night landscape, The sky is still, stars are faint, the moon is hidden. And yet the ocean knows it is there. The tide answers. The water rises and falls in a slow conversation with something unseen. This is a lovely metaphor and also a scientific reality. The moon's gravity influences tides. It reaches across the space between Earth and moon, pulling on the oceans. The sun also contributes. The result is a rhythm that has been repeating for billions of years. You're made of water too. Not ocean water, but water nonetheless. Your body is mostly water, and it moves in its own tides. Blood circulating, lymph flowing, fluids shifting between compartments. These are slower tides, smaller ones, but they are real. And perhaps that is enough to rest with. The idea that you're not separate from the rhythms of nature, that the same laws that move the sea also move your breath, that the same gravity that shapes the night also shapes your body against the bed. Let your shoulders sink a little deeper. Let the back of your head become heavier. Let your hands loosen. The hidden senses do not need your attention to function. They do not need you to be vigilant. They work best when you are calm, when you are not interfering, when you're letting the system do what it knows, so you can give them that gift now, the gift of your softness. Notice the way the room feels, the air, perhaps slightly cool, the blanket, perhaps slightly warm, the sound of your own breath. The small pauses between inhale and exhale, those pauses are quiet spaces, little resting places inside the breath. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause, and with each pause the mind has less to do. Somewhere deep inside your brainstem, centers regulate breathing, heart rate, and many basic functions. They respond to the body's internal signals, making adjustments without bringing you into conscious effort. This is part of what allows sleep to be possible at all. The body can continue, the mind can let go. You do not have to remember any of that. Just feel the comfort of it, that the system is designed for rest, built for cycles, built for night. Imagine a slow camera drifting over that midnight coastline again. The lens is steady, the exposure is long, the light is low and smooth, the shadows are gentle. The world is not dramatic, the world is patient. The water reflects just a faint silver line, as if the sky is touching it with a fingertip, and in that reflection you can sense the theme of tonight's journey. Hidden senses, quiet awareness, a world that continues to know itself even in darkness. You may notice that when you soften, sensations become clearer in a gentle way, not sharper, just more present. The weight of the blanket, the warmth in your chest, the subtle coolness at the edge of your nose, the faint shift of your breath moving the fabric near your collarbone. These are small things. But small things are the language of night. If your mind tries to chase big meaning, bring it back to small sensation. Small is safe, small is quiet, small is enough. You can also notice the space around your body, the room, the air, the distance between the bed and the ceiling. Even with eyes closed, you may sense the openness above you, the way the air feels like it continues. Spatial awareness is another quiet sense, a subtle internal model of the world. It is not perfect, and it does not need to be. It is simply there, like a soft sketch. And in that sketch, you can feel yourself resting inside a larger space, not confined, not trapped, held. Tonight, we are not rushing toward answers. We are letting the question be gentle. What senses are hidden in you, working quietly all the time? What kinds of perception exist beyond sight and sound and taste? We will explore that slowly, in the next part of our drift. For now, stay with the softness. Stay with the way your body knows itself. Stay with the way gravity holds you down, and the way breath lifts you slightly, and the way your heartbeat keeps a steady hush. You are safe in the dark, and the dark is not empty. It is full of quiet information, full of subtle signals, full of the world continuing its calm conversation with itself. Inhale and let the night come a little closer. Exhale and let your thoughts become less bright. And as you rest there, on the edge between attention and drifting, you may begin to feel it, that even in stillness, something within you is quietly sensing, quietly adjusting, like an ocean answering a moon it cannot see. And perhaps, somewhere inside that hush, the nervous system dreams in gentle pulses too. The tide keeps its slow conversation with the unseen moon, and your body keeps its own quiet conversation too, beneath the surface of thought. Nothing dramatic changes. The room remains the room. The night remains night. And yet, inside you, there is a gentle kind of listening that does not need words. If you rest your attention on that listening, you may notice it has layers. Some senses arrive like footsteps, clear, immediate, a sound in the hall, a change in light, a sudden cold. Those are the senses that speak loudly enough to become the centre of the mind. But there are other senses that speak in murmurs. They do not push. They do not insist. They simply inform you, the way a low note can hold a song together without ever becoming the melody. And tonight, in this softened darkness, you can let yourself notice them in the simplest way, not by searching, but by allowing. Feel the outline of your body again, as if you are tracing the shape of a coastline with your attention. Not the exact shape, just the sense of it. Where you begin, where the air begins, where the bed holds you. You know where your shoulders are, even with your eyes closed. You know where your hands are, you know where your feet are. This is a kind of sensing that is not sight and not touch in the usual way. You're not actively touching your feet with your hands, you're not looking at them, and yet you have a quiet certainty about where they are. This sense has a name in science, proprioception. It is the body's internal map, a living map drawn by signals from muscles, tendons and joints, sent inward along nerves to the brain, like gentle reports, like small messages delivered by a patient courier. You do not need to remember the word. You only need to feel the truth of it, that you're never lost inside yourself, not completely. Even in darkness, the body knows its shape. Sometimes it helps to imagine this map as a dim room filled with instruments, not bright instruments, not blinking lights, just quiet gauges, the needle of pressure, the needle of stretch, the needle of angle, each one moving only slightly, but always responding. If you lift your arm, those gauges shift. If you turn your head, they shift. If you do nothing at all, they still shift, because life is never perfectly still. Breath changes the shape of the rib cage. Heartbeat changes pressure in the vessels. Tiny adjustments happen in muscles to keep you comfortable. Even now, as you lie there, the map updates. It updates without asking your permission. It updates without waking you. That is the beauty of it. And somewhere beneath this map there is another layer of sensing, quieter still. A sense that does not describe where you are in space, but how you are on the inside. The warmth within your chest, the tightness or ease in the throat, the fullness of the stomach, the gentle thirst in the mouth, the subtle shift in mood that comes when a thought passes. This too has a name in science, interoception. Again, you do not need the word, just the feeling, the inner sense, the body listening to itself and letting you know in soft signals what it needs. Interoception is not only hunger and thirst, it is the sense of your heartbeat, the sense of your breath, the sense of temperature within, the sense of whether you are calm or tense before your mind has explained why. It is like the weather inside you. And just as weather changes slowly, often without announcement, so does the inner world. Tonight you can treat your inner weather with kindness. You can notice it without trying to control it. You can let it be there, like clouds drifting over a dark sea. If you want a gentle experiment, you can do it without moving at all. Bring your attention to your chest and listen for the heartbeat again, not by forcing, just by waiting. Sometimes the heart reveals itself as a pulse, sometimes as a pressure, sometimes as a soft throb, far away. If you cannot feel it, that is fine. The point is not to succeed. The point is to soften. The heart beats because of electricity, yes, but also because of chemistry. Muscle cells exchanging ions, calcium flowing in and out, protein shifting shape, pulling filaments across one another, creating contraction. This is true science, and it is also a quiet kind of choreography, a dance you do not have to watch for it to happen. And what the body senses is not only the beat itself, but the meaning of that beat. The body feels whether it is fast or slow, strong or light, steady or slightly irregular. These perceptions can influence emotion, often before thought arrives. The mind says, "I feel anxious," but the body may have noticed it first, as a change in breath, a change in heartbeat, a change in stomach tension. The body always knows early, not because it predicts the future, because it lives closer to the signals, and in the gentle space of night, you can let that knowledge feel comforting. You can think of your body as a quiet companion, one that is always keeping you informed, always keeping you safe enough to rest. Proprioception and interoception are often called hidden senses, not because they are rare, but because they do their work in the background. Like the low hum of a refrigerator, you only notice it when you become still enough. So let yourself become still enough, not rigid, just quiet. Feel how your arms rest. Feel the weight of your legs. Feel the softness at the belly when you exhale. There is a certain relief in realizing that so much of you is automatic, that you do not have to pilot your body like a machine. Your body is not a vehicle, it is a living place. It knows how to run itself most of the time with gentle competence. Even the simplest things like posture are managed by hidden sensing, tiny adjustments in muscles, tiny shifts in balance. You're not commanding these shifts, they happen. You could imagine a ship at sea, anchored in calm water. Even when anchored, it moves slightly. The hull rises and falls, the ropes tighten and loosen. The ship remains in place, not because it is stiff, but because it is responsive. Your body is like that, anchored by gravity, floating on breath, adjusting in tiny ways, staying comfortable. And these adjustments are guided by information. The nervous system is not guessing. It is receiving signals from receptors. In your muscles, there are sensors called muscle spindles that detect stretch. In your tendons, receptors called Golgi tendon organs detect tension. In your joints, receptors detect angle and movement. These are real structures, physical, microscopic, faithful. They send information along nerves to the spinal cord and brain, updating your internal map. Some of those signals never reach conscious awareness. They don't need to. They guide reflexes and posture quietly. And while you rest, these signals still travel, because the body does not stop being a body at night. It simply becomes softer, and that softness is allowed. Now let your attention drift inward again, toward the sense of breath. The breath is an especially gentle doorway into interoception. It is something you can notice without effort. The air moves in, the air moves out. Inside your lungs, tiny air sacs called alveoli exchange gases with the blood. Oxygen enters, carbon dioxide leaves. This happens across thin membranes, a delicate exchange that keeps every cell fed with oxygen. It's quiet work. So quiet you never hear it, and yet it is constant, and the body senses it. The brain monitors carbon dioxide levels in the blood. When CO2 rises, it increases the drive to breathe. When it falls, the drive softens. This regulation happens automatically even when you sleep, so you do not have to remember to breathe. Breath remembers you. Let that thought settle. Breath remembers you. And as you exhale, notice the subtle shift in the nervous system. Exhaling often activates the parasympathetic branch, the part associated with rest and calm. The vagus nerve, a long wandering nerve, carries signals between brain and body, influencing heart rate, digestion, and mood. Again, you do not need to hold the details. Just feel what it points to. There is a pathway inside you that encourages calm. You can touch it by slowing the exhale, not forcing, just lengthening it slightly. Inhale softly. Exhale a little longer, and as you do, the body's inner instruments respond. Heart rate may lower slightly, muscles may soften, the mind may loosen its grip. This is not magic, it is physiology, and physiology, in the dark, can feel like a lullaby. Now imagine again that dim room of instruments. In this room there is a gentle glowing line, like a faint horizon. That line is your awareness. It moves slowly, shining softly on different instruments. When it shines on proprioception, you notice where your body is. When it shines on interoception, you notice how your body feels inside. And when it shines outward, you notice the room, the night, the air. You do not have to keep the light steady. Let it drift. It is okay to drift. The mind is often taught to focus sharply, to aim, to hold. But sharp focus is not always what the nervous system needs. Sometimes it needs wide attention, a soft gaze, a gentle listening. The kind of awareness animals have when resting safely, still alert enough to sense the environment, but calm enough to let the muscles relax. Tonight, you can be like that, safe and soft, aware and unhurried. You might notice sensations you usually ignore, a small pulse at the wrist, a subtle warmth behind the knees, the weight of the tongue in the mouth, the tiny movements in the abdomen as digestion continues. Digestion is another quiet world. Muscles in the intestines contract rhythmically, moving food along. This is called peristalsis. It is slow. It is automatic. It is guided by nerves. Many of them part of the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain in the gut, because it contains so many neurons. It is not a poetic exaggeration. The gut has its own network of nerve cells, capable of coordinating digestion with minimal input from the brain. A quiet intelligence within. And maybe you can feel how that could be comforting. That there is a part of you that knows how to take what you have eaten, break it down, and send nourishment where it needs to go, all while you rest. You can let your body do its work. You can let yourself be carried. Now, let your attention move back to the sense of position, that inner map again. Imagine for a moment that you are floating, but still supported, like lying in shallow water, the surface holding you. You can feel which parts of you touch the support, and which parts are free. This is pressure sensing, also part of the body's quiet perception. The skin and deeper tissues contain receptors that respond to pressure and vibration. Some respond to light touch, some respond to deeper pressure. Together they help the brain understand contact with the world, and in bed, this contact can feel like reassurance. The mattress says, "I am here." The blanket says, "I am here." Gravity says, "I am here." And your body says back, "I know." The hidden senses are a conversation of knowing, and as you lie here, the conversation continues, even if your thoughts become less clear. Sometimes we imagine that consciousness is the only way of knowing, but the body knows in other ways. It knows through reflex, through rhythm, through chemical sensing, through electrical signals, through the quiet maps that guide posture and breath. This is not lesser knowledge, it is older knowledge, and older knowledge tends to be calm. There is a reason these senses are quiet. If they shouted, you would never hear anything else. They would overwhelm the mind. But nature chose a different design. These senses are steady, like a low tide. Present, dependable, rarely urgent. They become urgent only when something changes too far. When blood sugar drops, when oxygen drops, when temperature rises too high or falls too low. Then the body speaks louder, then it asks for attention. But tonight, you are here. You're safe enough to explore the quiet signals. So let your attention be curious, but gentle. Notice how your body knows your own shape, how it knows the bend of your elbows, the angle of your neck, how it knows your jaws relaxed or tight. If you notice any tightness, you can soften it with kindness, not by forcing it to disappear, but by giving it room. Sometimes tension is a signal, sometimes it is a habit. Either way, it can be met with warmth. Imagine the tension as a knot in a thread. You don't yank it, you loosen it slowly with patience. Inhale and feel the body expand a little. Exhale and let the body settle. Sometimes the mind tries to control everything because it does not trust the body, but trust can be learned. Trust can be practiced, not as a big decision, but as a small willingness, a willingness to let the body do what it knows, and perhaps you can sense, even now, that the body is capable, that it is already doing so much without your instruction. That is one of the quiet miracles of being alive. Now imagine the inner room again, instruments faintly glowing. In one corner there is a gentle gauge measuring blood chemistry. The body senses levels of glucose, electrolytes, hormones. Specialized receptors detect changes in the blood and tissues. The brain receives these signals and adjusts hunger, thirst, metabolism. This is one reason you can feel thirsty without seeing water. It is one reason you can feel hungry without smelling food. The body is reading itself, and as it reads itself, it keeps you alive. Even sleep is partly guided by this internal sensing. The brain monitors how long you've been awake, how much adenosine has built up, how circadian rhythms shift with time. It adjusts alertness and drowsiness. It shifts hormones like melatonin. It changes body temperature slightly at night, often lowering it as sleep approaches. These are quiet, true facts, and they can feel soothing when spoken softly, because they remind you that you are designed for cycles. designed for night. You do not have to force rest. You can allow the system to do what it was built to do. Outside, the coastline remains dark. The waves keep moving. A thin silver line appears on the water, then fades. The moon is still hidden, but its influence remains. And inside you, the hidden senses remain, even when you stop paying attention. This is the place where anxiety often softens, when you realize you're not alone inside yourself, that your body is not a stranger. It is a companion, a quiet lighthouse, always shining, whether or not you look. You might notice a feeling of heaviness, or perhaps lightness. Either is fine. Heaviness can be the body settling. Lightness can be the mind releasing. Both can be part of drifting. If the mind offers thoughts, let them pass through like fish under dark water. You do not have to catch them. You can watch them glide, then disappear. Return to the breath. Return to the feeling of contact. Return to the inner map. And in this gentle returning, you will begin to sense how the hidden senses guide you, moment by moment, without asking for applause. They guide balance, they guide posture, they guide digestion, they guide breath, they guide heartbeat, they guide the subtle, emotional shifts that tell you when you are safe. They are always there. They are always working. And the more you soften, the more you can feel that work as something benevolent, something steady, something like a low, warm light in the distance. Now let the breath slow again. Inhale, exhale, and imagine that each exhale is a small wave drawing back from the shore, leaving the sand smooth and dark. A wave, then another. And in the space between waves, the world is quiet enough to hear the deeper rhythms. The hidden senses do not speak loudly. They do not need to. They have always guided you, even when you were too busy to notice, even when your thoughts were loud, even when the day demanded everything. They stayed. They kept shining. And as you rest here, you can trust them. The way a sailor trusts a lighthouse, not because the sailor stares at it constantly, but because the light is there, steady and true, and perhaps somewhere in the quiet circuitry of your body, the signals keep travelling like gentle waves of knowing. And the inner map dreams of your shape in the dark too. The lighthouse keeps shining and the waves keep finding the shore. Nothing announces the continuation. It simply happens, and in the same way, your awareness drifts onward, carried by a rhythm that does not need instruction. You're still here, still resting, still held. And within that holding, there is another quiet sense waiting to be felt, a sense that knows where you are, not just within yourself, but within the world. A sense that understands up and down, tilt and stillness, even when your eyes are closed and your body does not move. It is a sense of balance. Notice for a moment how you know you are lying down. You know this without looking, without touching the floor, without checking. There is a gentle certainty in it. Your body understands its orientation in space, even in the dark. This knowing comes from a place deep inside your head, tucked safely within the bones of the skull, the inner ear. Not the part that hears sound, but the part that listens to motion. Inside that small protected space there are structures filled with fluid, tiny chambers, curved canals, and within them microscopic crystals made of calcium carbonate. They're unimaginably small, lighter than dust, and yet they carry profound information. When you move your head, when you tilt, when you stand or lie down, these crystals shift. The fluid moves, hair-like sensors bend, and the nerves carry that bending inward toward the brain. This is not something you feel as a sensation like touch or temperature. It is subtler, more like a background knowing. The body's sense of gravity, the memory of which way is down, and even now as you lie still, this system is active. The crystals are resting, the fluid is calm, the sensors are steady, and that steadiness itself is information. You're not falling, you're not spinning, you are at rest. And the brain knows this. Imagine, if you like, a small pool of water in a dark cave. The water is perfectly still, the surface is smooth, no ripples, no waves. The stillness tells you something important, that nothing is disturbing the space, that all is balanced. Your inner ear holds pools like that, and because they are calm, your nervous system can soften. Muscles do not need to brace. The body does not need to prepare for movement. It can let go. This is one of the quiet gifts of lying down. The balance system shifts into a mode of rest. Gravity is no longer something you must actively resist. You are supported. The bed takes the weight. The muscles can release their vigilance. You might feel this as a subtle melting, a sense of sinking, or a gentle floating, as if the edges of your body are less defined. Both are natural. Sometimes when people are very relaxed, they report a feeling of drifting, or of rocking gently, or of being held in water. These sensations are not illusions. They are the nervous system exploring the quiet signals of balance without the usual visual anchors. In daylight, your balance system works in partnership with vision. Your eyes tell you where the horizon is. They help the brain orient the body. But at night, with eyes closed, the balance system listens more closely to its own signals. It relies on gravity, pressure, and internal motion. This is a softer way of knowing. You might imagine yourself floating on a dark lake at night. The water is calm. The sky is deep navy blue. There are no bright reflections, only a faint silver shimmer. You are not swimming. You are not moving. The water supports you evenly. You can feel which way is down even without seeing. Your body knows. Your body always knows. And there is comfort in that knowledge, that even when the world is dark, you are not disoriented. You are not lost. There is an inner compass, quiet and reliable. Balance is not just about standing upright. It is also about emotional steadiness. The same systems that help the body know where it is in space are connected to systems that regulate stress and calm. When balance signals are stable, the nervous system often interprets that as safety. When they are disrupted, as in dizziness or vertigo, the body can feel alarmed. This is not because danger is present, but because orientation has been lost. Tonight, orientation is found. You are still. You are supported. The inner pools are calm, and the nervous system responds with a quiet sigh. You might notice, as you rest here, that your muscles are less tense than they were earlier, or that your jaw feels heavier, or that your shoulders are sinking a little deeper into the bed. These are signs of balance being trusted. The body no longer needs to hold itself upright. It can let gravity do its work. Gravity is often spoken of as a force that pulls, but tonight you can feel it as a force that holds, a steady presence, pressing you gently into safety. Gravity has been with you since before you were born. It shaped the way your bones grew. It influenced the way your muscles developed. It guided the balance systems in your inner ear as you learned to sit, to crawl, to stand. Every step you've ever taken has been a conversation with gravity, a negotiation, a dance, muscles contracting and releasing to keep you upright against the constant pull. And now that dance can rest. You can let the floor of the world come to you. You can let yourself be heavy, or light, or somewhere in between. Sometimes, when balance is deeply trusted, the sense of the body can soften at the edges. You might feel less sharply defined, as if the boundary between you and the bed is less important, as if you are blending slightly with the space around you. This is not something to analyze. It is something to allow. Your balance system is not confused by this. It understands that stillness can feel expansive. There is a scientific reason why drifting sensations can arise during relaxation. When the brain receives less visual input and fewer active movement signals, it relies more on internal cues. These cues can be interpreted in different ways, especially when the mind is calm. The result can be a sensation of floating or gentle motion. This is normal, and often it is a sign that the nervous system is entering a restful state. You can let it happen. If at any point the sensation feels unfamiliar, you can return to contact. The pressure of the bed, the weight of the blanket, the firmness beneath you. These are reliable anchors, but if it feels pleasant, you can drift with it. Imagine again the lake at night. The water is dark, the stars are faint, the surface moves only when a breeze passes. You float supported evenly. You are aware of the direction of gravity, but it is not demanding. It is simply there. This is how the body feels when balance is trusted. Inside the inner ear, the tiny crystals remain settled. Inside the brain, signals confirm stability, and the muscles respond by softening. Balance is a sense of permission. Permission to let go. Permission to rest. Permission to trust the ground beneath you, even when you cannot see it. Now bring your attention gently to the back of your head. Notice how it rests, the contact points, the slight pressure, the warmth building there. That pressure tells the balance system that you are supported. It tells the brain that the body is not upright, not moving, not at risk of falling. And because of that, deeper relaxation becomes possible. You might notice your breathing slow further. The pauses between breaths may lengthen. This is a sign of the parasympathetic nervous system becoming more active, the part of you that knows how to rest. It is connected to the balance system. These systems communicate. When balance signals are calm, the rest system listens. Everything inside you is connected. This connection is not abstract. It is physical. Nerves branching, signals crossing, information flowing. And because of that, when one part of you relaxes, other parts follow. You're not forcing anything. You're allowing a cascade of softness. Sometimes, when people lie very still, they become more aware of small internal movements. The rise and fall of breath, the pulse in the neck, the subtle shift of blood with each heartbeat. These movements can feel larger in the quiet. They are not new. They are simply no longer drowned out by noise, and they can feel soothing, like listening to a slow piece of music. You might imagine the rhythm of your breath as waves on the lake, the rhythm of your heartbeat as a deeper current beneath, and gravity as the lake bed itself, holding everything in place. This is a layered stillness. Movement within rest, balance within motion. Now, consider something gently wondrous. The crystals in your inner ear that help you sense gravity are made of calcium carbonate, the same basic material found in limestone, chalk, and seashells, the same substance that forms cliffs and coral reefs. This means that part of your ability to know which way is down comes from the same material that builds coastlines. The body carries echoes of the earth. Your sense of balance is not separate from the planet's history. It is shaped by the same physics, the same chemistry, the same long story of matter organizing itself into forms that can feel and know and rest. You're lying on the earth, sensing gravity, with structures inside you that are made of earth. There is something deeply settling about that. You belong here, and because you belong, you can rest. Let your attention widen again. Feel the whole body at once. The head, the shoulders, the torso, the legs, the feet, all supported, all oriented, all held. You do not need to check or adjust. The system is already aligned. Sometimes, the mind carries a habit of vigilance even at night. It keeps watch, scanning for problems, but the balance system is telling it something important now, that there is no need to brace, no need to prepare, no need to stand. The body is down, the body is safe, the body is still, and the mind can listen. If thoughts arise, you can let them drift past like clouds reflected on the surface of the lake. They do not disturb the water. They do not change the depth. They are just passing shapes. Return again to the feeling of gravity holding you. Feel how constant it is, how it does not fluctuate, how it does not argue. Gravity is one of the most dependable features of your life. It has never left you. It will not leave you tonight. And because of that, your balance system can rest in certainty. You can imagine gravity not as a pull downward, but as a quiet embrace from below, the earth saying, "I've got you." This reframing can change how the body feels. The weight becomes comforting rather than heavy. The pressure becomes reassuring rather than constricting. If any part of you is still holding tension, you can offer it this image. Let gravity take the load. You do not need to hold yourself together. The world is doing that for you right now. Inhale gently, exhale slowly, and notice how the exhale seems to sink you a little deeper. That sinking is not falling, it is settling. Settling into balance, settling into support, settling into night. As the balance system rests, the mind can soften further. The edges of thought blur. Time feels less sharp. The sense of urgency fades. You're not moving through the world. The world is holding you, and in this held stillness, the body's memory of gravity becomes something tender, a familiar presence, a gentle hand resting lightly, reminding you where you are without ever waking you. And perhaps, as the inner pools remain calm and the crystals stay settled, the body remembers a deeper stillness too, one it has known since long before words, and in that remembering, motion slows into rest, and gravity itself feels like a lullaby. The earth has always been humming, and maybe, somewhere in that quiet, the balance system drifts into a dream of being perfectly, effortlessly held. Gravity continues its gentle hold, and the body remains at rest within it. Nothing shifts abruptly. The stillness simply deepens, like night air cooling by a degree you barely notice. From this steadiness, attention begins to turn inward again, not sharply, but the way fog drifts from a hillside into a valley. You may notice how the body feels from the inside now, not its shape, not its position, but its atmosphere. There is an inner climate moving through you, subtle and alive, a warmth that gathers in some places, a coolness that lingers in others, a sense of fullness, or ease, or quiet hunger. These sensations do not ask to be named. They simply exist, like weather. And just as you do not command the wind, you do not command these inner shifts. They arise, they pass, they adjust themselves. This is the body's inner weather, You can sense it if you listen gently. Notice the temperature inside your chest. Is it warm, neutral, cool? Notice the belly, how it feels as the breath moves. Notice the mouth, perhaps a hint of dryness or comfort. Notice the skin, how it responds to air and fabric. These sensations are not random. They're messages, quiet ones, sent along nerves that monitor the state of the body moment by moment. Inside you, there are receptors that sense temperature. Some respond to warmth, some to coolness. They are scattered through the skin and deeper tissues, constantly informing the brain about thermal balance. When the body cools at night, as it often does, these receptors register the change and the nervous system responds by adjusting blood flow, muscle tone, and metabolism. This is one reason night feels different in the body. The inner temperature drops slightly. The skin may cool. The core remains warm. This gentle shift is part of how the body prepares for rest. It is not something you must manage. It unfolds naturally, like dusk turning into night. You can feel this unfolding if you stay with the sensations. There is also the sense of hunger and fullness, quiet signals rising from the digestive system. Hormones like ghrelin and leptin move through the bloodstream, influencing appetite and satiety. Stretch receptors in the stomach send information about fullness. The brain listens, quietly deciding whether the body needs more fuel or can rest. Tonight, whatever the signals are, they are enough. You do not need to fix them. You can acknowledge them like clouds passing overhead. If there is hunger, it is simply information. If there is fullness, it is also information. Neither needs action right now. The body knows how to wait. Interoception, that inner sense, is not only about physical needs. It also senses emotion, changes in heart rate, changes in breath, subtle tension in muscles. These signals often arrive before thoughts do. Sometimes you feel uneasy before you know why. Sometimes you feel calm without explanation. This is the inner weather shifting, and tonight you can let the weather be what it is, without commentary, without trying to change the sky. Imagine standing in a wide, open landscape at night. Hills are barely visible. Fog moves slowly across the ground. You do not try to stop the fog. You do not demand clear skies. You simply stand, feeling the cool air, listening to the quiet. Your body is that landscape. Fog moves, air cools, warmth pools, signals rise and fall, and beneath it all, there is a steady ground. The brain receives a continuous stream of information about blood chemistry, levels of oxygen, levels of glucose, levels of hormones. Specialized sensors in the blood vessels and brainstem detect these changes and adjust physiology accordingly. This happens whether you are awake, asleep, or drifting between. The body is always balancing itself. This balancing act is subtle, and it is deeply kind. When blood sugar drops, hunger may arise. When hydration decreases, thirst appears. When stress hormones rise, the heart rate may increase. These are not flaws. They are messages meant to guide survival. But at night, when the world is quiet and demands are few, many of these signals soften. The body shifts toward maintenance rather than action, repair rather than response. You can feel this shift as a general sense of heaviness, or calm, or inwardness. The muscles no longer need to be ready. The senses no longer need to scan. The inner weather becomes stiller. If you place a hand on your belly, you might feel warmth there. Blood flow shifts toward the core at night, supporting digestion and internal processes. The skin may cool slightly, while the inner organs remain warm. This contrast can feel soothing, like being wrapped in a blanket on a cool evening. Notice how the body chooses comfort without asking. There is also the sense of pressure inside the chest as the lungs expand and contract. Stretch receptors in the lungs send signals to the brain, helping regulate the depth and rhythm of breathing. This feedback loop is another quiet conversation, one that keeps the breath smooth and efficient. You do not have to tell your lungs how deeply to breathe. They listen to themselves, and if you slow your breath intentionally, even slightly, those receptors respond, telling the brain that all is well, that there is no need to hurry. This is why slow breathing feels calming. It is not just psychological, it is a physical signal of safety. You can let your breath be a gentle guide tonight. Inhale softly, exhale slowly. Feel the belly rise, feel it fall, and notice the sense of settling that follows the exhale. This settling is the inner weather clearing just a little. Sometimes emotions are described as storms, but storms are not enemies. They are part of climate. They move energy. They redistribute heat. They restore balance, and they always pass. The body understands this. It does not cling to emotion the way the mind sometimes does. It experiences, it responds, it moves on. You can trust this process. If there is a feeling present tonight, whatever it is, you can let it be part of the landscape. You do not need to name it. You do not need to explain it. You can simply feel the physical sensations associated with it and let them change at their own pace. Perhaps there is a tightness in the chest, or a heaviness behind the eyes, or a warmth in the throat. These are not problems, they are weather patterns, and like weather, they respond to patience. The nervous system has many pathways for calming. One of them involves temperature. Warmth, especially, can signal safety. This is why warmth often feels comforting. It is why mammals seek warmth when resting. You can notice where warmth gathers in your body. Perhaps in the hands, perhaps in the chest, perhaps under the blanket. Let that warmth spread slowly without effort. If there is any coolness, you can notice that too. Coolness can be refreshing. It can sharpen awareness gently. The contrast between warm and cool creates a sense of depth, like shadows and light in a dark landscape. Inside you, this contrast helps define sensation. And as you lie here, the inner weather becomes something you can observe without judgment, like watching clouds move across a moonless sky. The clouds do not know you are watching. They do not change for you. And yet, watching them can be calming. You might notice that as you pay gentle attention to inner sensations, thoughts become quieter. This is because attention has shifted from the thinking mind to the sensing body. The brain cannot fully engage in both at the same time. When sensation takes the foreground, thought recedes. This is a natural way into rest. You're not forcing thoughts away. You're simply giving attention somewhere else, and that somewhere else is always available. The body is always here, even when the mind wanders, even when the day has been long, even when language feels tired. The body continues its quiet work. Now, imagine again the night landscape. Fog rolls slowly through a valley. The air is cool, the ground is dark and solid. Above, the sky is deep and starless, or perhaps with only a few faint points of light. Nothing demands your attention. Everything simply is. And inside you, the same is true. The inner weather does not need improvement. It needs permission. Permission to move. Permission to settle. Permission to be felt without interference. You can offer that permission now by staying still, by breathing gently, by listening without trying to interpret. The brain is very good at interpreting. It looks for meaning. It looks for cause and effect. But tonight, you can let interpretation rest. You can let sensation speak for itself without translation. Warmth is warmth. Coolness is coolness. Pressure is pressure. Ease is ease. These are complete experiences. They do not require commentary. As the inner weather settles, the nervous system shifts further into rest. Heart rate may slow. Blood pressure may drop slightly. Muscles may release tension they did not know they were holding. These changes are subtle. You may not notice them directly, but you may feel their effects as a general sense of comfort or heaviness or calm. You can imagine the body as a house at night. Lights dimmed, doors closed, systems running quietly. The heating system adjusts. The pipes hum softly. Everything is working, but nothing is loud. You are resting inside that house, safe, warm, held. The inner weather may still shift from time to time. A thought may bring a ripple of sensation. A memory may stir warmth or tightness. Let these ripples pass. They are small waves on a deep lake. Return to the breath. Return to the sense of contact. Return to the steady ground beneath all sensation. And as you do, you may feel a growing sense of belonging. Not belonging to a place, or a role, or an idea, but belonging to your own body. This is a quiet, intimate kind of belonging. It does not require achievement. It does not require understanding. It simply is. You are allowed to be here. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to let the body care for itself. Outside, the fog continues its slow movement. Inside, signals continue their gentle exchange. Both are patient, both are unhurried, and perhaps, as the inner weather calms and the outer night deepens, the body settles into a steady rhythm of warmth and breath and balance. And somewhere in that calm, the quiet messengers keep carrying their notes through the dark, and the inner climate drifts toward a long, peaceful stillness, like clouds dissolving into the night air itself. The inner weather continues its slow settling, like fog thinning until it becomes part of the air itself. Nothing needs to be cleared away. Nothing needs to be named. From this calm interior, awareness begins to widen again, not outward into noise, but outward into something softer, a sense of presence. Even here, lying quietly, perhaps alone in a room, you may feel it. The faint impression that you're not isolated, that your nervous system still knows how to listen for others, even when no one is speaking. This is another hidden sense. You might notice it when someone enters a room behind you, before they make a sound, or when a familiar voice calms you, even before you understand the words, or when silence shared with another feels different from silence alone. This sensing does not rely on touch. It does not rely on sight. It is something quieter, more diffuse, a sensitivity to patterns, to timing, to rhythm. Humans are deeply social organisms. Long before language, long before writing, long before electric light, the nervous system learned to read subtle cues. Posture, breathing, tone, the space between movements. These cues are not processed consciously most of the time. They are felt, and tonight you can rest with that idea, gently. Imagine a dimly lit room at night. Two people sit quietly. No one speaks. There is no need. The silence is not empty. It is shared. Breathing finds a similar pace. Movements slow. The nervous systems of both people adjust to one another, like instruments tuning themselves to the same key. This is not metaphor alone, it is physiology. Inside the brain, there are networks of neurons that respond not only to your own actions, but to the actions of others. Some of these neurons activate when you observe another person moving or expressing emotion. They help the brain simulate what the other is experiencing. This simulation happens automatically, without effort. Scientists sometimes call these mirror systems. You do not need the name. You can feel what they do. They allow you to resonate, to sense mood, to feel intention, to know without being told when someone is calm or tense or present. These systems are quiet because they must be. If you felt every emotional signal at full volume, it would be overwhelming. So the brain filters, it softens, it keeps the sensing low and steady. At night, when the world is quieter, you may notice this sensitivity more clearly. Memories of voices, the echo of laughter, the comfort of having once been near someone who felt safe. Even now, as you listen, you're responding to tone, to pace, to rhythm. Your nervous system reads the softness in the voice, the pauses, the absence of urgency. And it responds by softening in return. This is how connection works, not through effort, through attunement. Sound plays a special role here. The human nervous system is highly responsive to sound, especially to the human voice. Not the words alone, but the tone, the cadence, the pauses between phrases. These elements signal safety or threat at a level below thought. A slow, steady voice can calm the heart rate. A gentle rhythm can ease breathing. A soft tone can signal that vigilance is not required. This is why lullabies work, why whispered reassurance works, why silence shared with someone you trust feels different from silence alone. Your body knows how to listen for safety, and it remembers. Even when you are alone, the nervous system carries patterns learned through years of connection. It remembers what calm sounds like. It remembers what presence feels like. It can recreate that sense internally, drawing on memory and imagination. This is not pretending. It is how the brain works. Memory is not a static recording. It is an active process. When you remember a voice, many of the same neural circuits activate as when you hear it. The body responds as if the sound were present. This means that connection can be felt even in solitude. You might notice this as a subtle warmth in the chest, or a softening in the face, or a sense of ease that does not seem to come from anything specific. That ease is the nervous system recognizing a familiar pattern. Tonight, you can let yourself feel that ease without searching for its source. You do not need to imagine a specific person unless it feels natural. You can simply let the sense of connection exist like a low, steady hum beneath the silence. Imagine standing on a shoreline at night again. Far out at sea, there are lights, ships. Perhaps you cannot hear them, you cannot see them clearly, but you know they are there. Their presence changes the feeling of the vastness. You're not alone in the dark ocean. Human connection can feel like that. Distant, subtle, reassuring. The nervous system evolved in groups. For most of human history, being alone at night was dangerous. Being near others meant warmth, protection, shared vigilance. Because of this, the body learned to associate certain cues with safety. Familiar sounds, gentle movements, predictable rhythms. When those cues are present or remembered, the body relaxes. When they are absent, the body may stay alert. Tonight, you are offering your nervous system enough cues to relax. Soft sound, slow rhythm, stillness. These cues echo the presence of others, even if no one is physically nearby. You can feel how that affects you. Perhaps your shoulders drop a little more. Perhaps your breathing deepens. Perhaps there is a sense of being accompanied without being watched. This is belonging at its quietest level. You belong not because someone is looking at you, but because your nervous system is tuned to connection itself. There is also a deeper layer to this sensing. Humans not only sense individual others, but groups, atmospheres, rooms. You can walk into a space and feel its mood without knowing why. This comes from the brain integrating many subtle signals at once: sound levels, echo, spacing, movement. The nervous system reads the whole pattern. This pattern reading is another hidden sense, and at night, when patterns are simpler, this sense can rest. You're in a room with one dominant pattern now. Stillness, quiet, soft sound, low light, predictability. These elements signal safety, and safety allows the body to release. You might notice a sense of gratitude arise softly without a target, or a feeling of warmth toward humanity in general, or a gentle memory of being cared for. You do not need to follow these feelings. You can let them drift through like warm air. Connection does not require action tonight. It only requires permission. The heart is also involved in social sensing. Heart rate variability, the subtle variation in time between heartbeats, is influenced by social cues. Calm connection tends to increase variability, which is associated with resilience and relaxation. Stressful social cues decrease it. As you rest in this gentle sense of connection, your heart may find a more flexible rhythm, not rigid, not rushed, responsive. This flexibility is a sign of health. It is the heart feeling safe enough to vary. Breath and heart begin to coordinate. The inhale slightly speeds the heart. The exhale slightly slows it. This is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. It is a natural, healthy pattern, another quiet rhythm that emerges in rest. You do not need to control it. It happens when the nervous system is calm, and calm often comes from connection, even imagined connection, even remembered connection, even the connection between voice and listener carried through sound waves and time. You can let that be enough. Now, imagine again the night sky. Stars are distant. Their light has travelled for years to reach you. Some of the stars you see may no longer exist in the form they once did, and yet their light is here. Connection works like that too. The influence of others remains even when they are not present. It remains in memory, in nervous system patterns, in the way your body responds to quiet. You're not empty when you are alone. You're full of echoes, gentle ones. You can feel those echoes now as a background sense of belonging. Not intense, not dramatic, just steady. And perhaps that steadiness allows the body to sink deeper into rest, because the ancient nervous system recognizes what it needs most at night: safety, predictability, gentle presence. You can offer those things to yourself now simply by staying here, breathing, listening, letting the sense of connection exist without demand. The room holds you, the sound holds you, the night holds you. And somewhere within you, the social sensing systems relax, no longer scanning, no longer evaluating, resting in the quiet knowledge that you're not alone in the world, even now, even in the dark, and perhaps like distant stars whose light still reaches across vast space. The nervous system feels the soft presence of others as a faint, enduring glow and drifts with it into deeper calm. That faint glow of connection lingers, like starlight resting on dark water. It does not disappear when you stop thinking about it. It simply becomes part of the background, a quiet assurance woven into the night. And as the nervous system settles into that assurance, something else begins to soften as well. Time, not the time that lives on clocks or screens, not the time that counts minutes and asks things of you, but the time that is felt, the time that moves through the body like a slow current, noticeable only when you stop trying to keep track of it. You may already sense this shift, the way moments seem less sharp now, the way the space between thoughts stretches, the way the night feels wide, unmeasured, almost endless. This is another hidden sense. You do not usually think of time as something you sense with the body, but you do. You always have. The body knows when it is morning and when it is night. It knows when you have been awake too long. It knows when rest is near. Deep inside the brain, there are networks of neurons that keep time in gentle rhythms. They do not tick like clocks. They pulse. They oscillate. They rise and fall in waves of electrical activity. These rhythms help regulate sleep and wakefulness, attention and rest. One of these rhythms follows the cycle of light and dark. As evening comes, the brain begins to release melatonin, a hormone that signals night. Body temperature drops slightly, muscles relax, the mind becomes less alert. You may feel this as heaviness behind the eyes, or as a softening of focus, or as a gentle pull towards stillness. This is not weakness, it is alignment. You are aligning with a rhythm older than language, older than cities, older than calendars, the rhythm of a planet turning away from the sun. The body feels this rhythm even when you are indoors, even when lights are on, even when the world does not pause. The rhythm continues quietly, like a tide that does not need permission to move. And tonight, you're listening to it. You might notice how your breath has changed since we began, how it has slowed perhaps, how the pauses have lengthened. Breath is one of the body's timekeepers. Each inhale and exhale marks a moment, but not a measured one, a felt one. You do not count breaths to know time is passing. You feel it. The heart too keeps time. Each beat is a moment. But the heart does not count. It varies, it responds, it speeds up and slows down based on need. This variability is healthy. It means the heart is flexible, alive, listening. Time in the body is not rigid, it is responsive. And as you rest, responsiveness becomes gentler. The brain also uses patterns of neural activity to sense duration. Certain neurons fire in sequences, creating an internal sense of how long something has lasted. But this sense is influenced by attention. When attention is relaxed, time feels slower. When attention is tight, time feels fast. Tonight, attention is loosening. So time stretches. You may feel as though you have been here for a long while, even if only minutes have passed. Or you may feel as though time has almost disappeared. Both are signs that the mind is releasing its grip on measurement. This release can be deeply calming. The pressure of schedules fades. The urgency of deadlines dissolves. There is only this moment and the next breath, and the soft continuity between them. Imagine a river at night. You cannot see how far it goes. You cannot see where it began. You only hear the water moving, steady and unhurried. The river does not know minutes. It does not know hours. It knows flow. Time in the body is like that. It flows. And when you stop trying to dam it, it becomes soothing. Circadian rhythms are one of the clearest examples of this internal timing. Roughly every 24 hours, the body cycles through patterns of alertness and rest. This rhythm is influenced by light, but it is also generated internally by a cluster of neurons in the brain that act like a master clock. These neurons do not tell you what time it is. They tell you how it feels to be in time. They influence hormone release, body temperature, metabolism, mood. And as night deepens, their signals change. They invite rest. You can feel this invitation now, not as a command, as a suggestion, a gentle leaning toward quiet. You might notice how your thoughts have become less linear, less concerned with sequence. They may feel more like images or fragments or soft impressions. This is another sign that time is being felt rather than measured. The brain is shifting from a mode of planning to a mode of being. This shift is not abrupt, it is gradual, like twilight. At first, you still see outlines clearly, then colours soften, then shapes blur. Eventually, only the sense of space remains. You're somewhere along that gradient now, and you can let yourself continue. There is no need to hurry. Night is patient. The stars take their time crossing the sky. The earth turns at a steady pace. The body follows, slowly, faithfully. You may notice that memories begin to drift in without context. A sound, a face, a place. These memories are not asking to be analysed. They are simply passing through, like leaves floating on the surface of the river. Time in memory is also fluid. Past and present mingle. The nervous system does not strictly separate them. When a memory arises, the body often responds as if the experience is happening now. This is why memories can carry sensation. Tonight, if a memory arises, you can let it pass without engagement. Feel the sensation, then let it dissolve back into the flow. There is no need to hold on to any moment. The river keeps moving. As time becomes less structured, the sense of self can soften too. The boundaries between now and then, between you and the world, become less firm. This is not something to fear. It is a natural part of rest. In deep relaxation, the brain's default mode network, associated with self-referential thinking, becomes less active. Other networks, associated with sensory integration and imagination, take over. The result is a feeling of spaciousness. You are still here, but you are less tightly defined. This spaciousness can feel like peace. You might notice that you're no longer wondering how long this has been going on, or how long it will continue. Those questions lose their urgency when time is no longer being counted. There is just the present, unfolding gently. You can feel this unfolding in the rhythm of your breath, in the slow settling of your body, in the way sounds seem farther away. The world does not demand your attention right now. It simply exists alongside you. Imagine the night forest again. Trees stand quietly. The wind moves slowly through leaves. No one is watching the clock. The forest does not hurry. It responds only to temperature, to light, to the long cycles of the earth. Your body is part of that same system. It responds to night. It knows when to slow. And when you allow it to slow, time becomes something you can rest inside, rather than something that pushes you forward. You might feel a sense of relief in this, a release from the need to track, to plan, to remember. You can let the future rest. You can let the past rest. You can let this moment be enough. Breath in, breath out. The pauses between breaths feel wider now. Those pauses are like open fields in time, places where nothing needs to happen. Stay there. Let the field stretch. There is a concept in physics that time is not the same everywhere, that it can stretch and compress depending on speed and gravity. This is not just theory, it has been measured. Clocks move differently in different conditions. Time is not as rigid as it feels, and in the body time is especially flexible. When you're calm, time opens. When you're stressed, time tightens. Tonight, time is opening. You can feel it in the softness of your awareness, in the way moments seem to blend. This blending is not confusion, it is rest. The river does not need banks to know where it flows, and perhaps, as the sense of time loosens its grip, you can let yourself drift fully into this unmeasured night, where moments are not counted but felt, where the body keeps its own gentle rhythm and the mind follows slower and slower until time itself feels like a wide, forgiving current, carrying you without effort, and somewhere in that quiet flow, the clocks fall silent and the rhythm of the universe hums softly through you, uncounted and calm. Time continues its quiet loosening, and with it the sense of effort fades even further. The river no longer needs to be watched. It flows on its own. And as it flows, something gentle gathers from all the sensations you've been noticing. Balance, inner weather, connection, rhythm. They begin to weave together, not as ideas, but as a single, calm awareness. You may begin to feel your body not as separate parts, but as one continuous presence, a landscape, a night map. You're not reading this map with your eyes, you're feeling it from within. The contours of your body appear as soft impressions, not sharp lines, more like hills seen at dusk, their shapes suggested rather than defined. Notice the length of your body from head to feet, as if tracing a slow path. You do not need to measure it, just sense it. The way one sensation fades into the next, the way there is no clear border between where one part ends and another begins. This is the body's integrated sense of itself. Neuroscience tells us that the brain constantly combines information from many senses to create a coherent picture of the body in space. Touch, balance, inner sensation, even memory. All of these signals converge, creating a lived sense of here I am. Most of the time this picture is sharp enough to guide action, to walk, to reach, to avoid obstacles. But at rest the picture softens. It becomes less about doing and more about being. You can feel that softness now. The edges of your awareness blur slightly. The body feels less like an object and more like a field of warmth, of pressure, of gentle movement. This is not losing awareness. It is widening it. You're still here, but you're not tightly focused on any one point. This widening is one of the hallmarks of deep rest. The brain's activity shifts away from narrow, goal-directed processing and toward broader, more diffuse patterns. These patterns are associated with imagination, memory, and the early stages of dreaming. You do not need to push towards sleep. You're already moving in its direction. You might notice that the sense of where your body ends and the bed begins is less clear. The pressure points remain, but they feel less important. The bed and your body share the same gravity, the same stillness. This blend-in is safe. It is familiar. You have experienced it before, even if you do not remember when. Think of floating in warm water, eyes closed, the body supported on all sides, the sense of edges dissolving, the map of the body becoming more about sensation than shape. Night does something similar. In the dark, without visual boundaries, the body's internal map becomes the primary guide, and because there is no need to move, this map can rest. Neural signals still travel, Sensory information still flows, but the urgency is gone. The map is no longer for navigation, it is for presence. You might feel this presence as a gentle fullness, or as a sense of expansion, or as a quiet heaviness that feels comforting rather than restrictive. All of these are expressions of the same thing, the body recognizing that it is allowed to let go. You can imagine the nervous system as a network of paths across this inner landscape. Some paths are well worn, leading to action and thought. Others are softer, used mainly at night, when the world grows quiet. Tonight, you are walking the softer paths. They wind slowly. They do not lead anywhere in particular. They simply exist like trails through a forest that is not in a hurry. As you follow them, you may notice that language itself begins to feel unnecessary. Words become less sharp. Sentences feel longer, or sometimes shorter. Meaning gives way to rhythm. This is natural. The brain is shifting toward modes that rely more on sensation and less on verbal thought. You can let this happen. You do not need to hold on to clarity. Clarity will return when it is needed. For now, softness is enough. Notice how the breath feels now. It may be slower, it may feel deeper, or it may feel so quiet that it almost disappears from awareness. The body does not need to announce its rhythms loudly anymore. You're listening closely enough to feel them even when they are subtle. You might feel the heartbeat as a distant pulse, or not feel it at all. Both are signs of settling. You might feel small waves of sensation move through the body, a shift in warmth, a release of tension, a subtle tingling. These are not messages that require interpretation. They are simply the nervous system adjusting, like a map being gently redrawn as conditions change. The map is never finished. It is always updating. But at night, updates are small, incremental, calm. There is a sense now that nothing needs to be done, that there is nowhere you need to go, that the body knows exactly where it is. This knowing can feel deeply reassuring. You're not lost. You're exactly here, and here is safe enough to rest. Imagine again the night landscape, hills and valleys under a dark sky. No roads, no signs. Just gentle contours. The land knows its own shape. It does not need to be labelled. Your body is like that land. It knows itself, even when you are not thinking about it. This self-knowing is not intellectual. It is felt. It is carried in nerve signals, in muscle tone, in the quiet alignment of bones and tissues under gravity. It is ancient knowledge. Older than words, older than fear. As cognition fades, there can be a sense of trust that arises naturally. Trust not in an idea, but in the process itself. Trust that the body will continue to breathe, that the heart will continue to beat, that the night will continue to unfold. You do not need to monitor these things. You can rest inside them. Sometimes at this stage of relaxation, people worry that they are losing awareness, but awareness is not being lost. It is changing form, becoming less sharp, more spacious, like a light dimmed, not extinguished. This dimming is intentional. It allows deeper systems to take over, systems that do not require conscious oversight. Systems that repair, consolidate memory, restore balance. Sleep will arrive when it is ready. You do not need to invite it loudly. You can simply make space. Notice how the body feels now as a whole. Not parts, not functions, just presence. A warm, heavy, quiet presence. If a thought arises, it may feel less solid than before, more like a mist than a structure. You can let it pass through the landscape without leaving a trace. Return to the sense of being held by the bed, held by gravity, held by the night. The body as a night map does not need light to be trusted. It does not need direction. It is already home, and as the map grows softer and less detailed, it becomes easier to rest within it, like lying down on familiar ground in the dark, knowing every contour by feel alone. And perhaps, as the last sharp edges of awareness fade, the inner paths grow quiet, and the map itself begins to dream of being nothing more than warmth and stillness, spread gently across the night. The map no longer needs to be followed. Its lines have softened, its paths have blurred, and the land rests as one whole shape, quiet and familiar. You're still here, but the sense of here has grown wide and gentle and uninsistent. Nothing new needs to happen now. The night has done its work slowly, the way it always does, by degrees, by breath, by allowing one sensation to fade into the next until effort becomes unnecessary. You may notice that awareness feels different now, not sharp, not searching, more like a low glow spread evenly without edges. This is not absence, it is ease. Thoughts, if they appear, arrive without weight. They do not ask to be solved. They drift through like pale clouds, thinning as they move, dissolving before they reach the horizon of attention. The body remains, warm, supported, breathing. Breath is quieter now. Sometimes it seems to disappear, only to return again, soft and unannounced. The pauses between breaths stretch naturally, like open space in music. Nothing fills them, nothing needs to. Inhale, exhale, and then a little more stillness. Inside the brain, patterns have shifted again. Neural rhythm slow. Activity becomes more synchronized, more wave-like. This is the borderland where waking thought loosens its grip, and dreaming begins to gather quietly in the background. You do not need to cross that border intentionally. It comes to you. The senses that guided you here remain awake in their own way. Balance continues to know you are held. Inner sensation continues to monitor warmth and rhythm. Time continues to flow, but without measure. Even connection remains, no longer as a feeling, but as a quiet knowing that the world is larger than thought. These systems do not turn off when sleep approaches. They simply become softer, more internal, more dreamlike. The body understands this transition. It has practiced it thousands of times. Each night it learns again how to let go of the outer world while keeping the inner one safe. You can trust that learning. Notice how the weight of your body feels now, heavier perhaps, or lighter, or simply less defined. The distinction matters less than it once did. The body and the bed share the same stillness, the same gravity, the same quiet. Sound is distant now. Even your own breath feels far away, as if heard through water. The room exists, but it no longer asks for attention. The night has wrapped it in shadow, and shadow has a way of simplifying things. The sky from earlier returns faintly, dark, wide, almost empty. There may be stars or there may not. It doesn't matter. The sense of vastness is enough. Awareness drifts within that vastness, no longer anchored to detail. Sometimes, in this space, images arise without context, a colour, a motion, a feeling of movement without direction. These are the early gestures of dream. They do not belong to logic, they belong to rhythm. You can let them come, you can let them go. There is nothing you need to hold on to now. The nervous system has shifted fully toward restoration. Muscles soften further. The heart finds its slowest, easiest pattern. Blood pressure drops slightly. The brain's language centers grow quiet, while sensory and emotional networks take on a gentler role. This is not something you have to remember. It is simply happening. If awareness flickers, let it flicker. If it dims, let it dim. You're not losing anything important. You're giving the body permission to continue without commentary. The breath continues. The heart continues. The night continues, and you are carried within all of it. Imagine again the very first moment of this journey, the quiet room, the air settling, the sense of arrival. That same air is here now, but changed, softer, warmer, no longer something you notice from the outside. It is inside you now. Each inhale brings less effort. Each exhale releases more. Thought dissolves into sensation. Sensation dissolves into feeling. Feeling dissolves into rest. There is no clear line where waking ends and sleep begins. There never is. It is a gradient, a slow turn-in. Like the earth moving into shadow. You're on that turning now. The hidden senses continue their watch, but they do so without needing you. Balance remains steady. Inner signals remain quiet and kind. Time continues to pass, but it no longer matters how. Even awareness itself seems to rest, folding inward like a wing. Nothing needs to be concluded. Nothing needs to be understood. The world turns quietly. The body breathes quietly, and you, held by gravity and night and your own gentle rhythms, drift where thinking cannot follow. The air hums as it did at the beginning, but now it hums within you, soft, endless, asleep.